Welcome to the Grow to Amazing podcast. This is Tony Mays, your host. This is Word of the Week number 4. And the word of the week this week is accountability. I had a different one in mind, and then that was last week. And then I missed a week of doing the podcast. And so this week is a time to catch up for that and to get back on track. And I will save the word of the week that I've got put together. I will save that for another week, and that's going to be next week. But accountability seemed like a much more appropriate definition or word to bring into things today because I'm at that point where I need it and I need to take accountability. I need to take ownership of what I'm not doing and talk about what I'm going to do to move things forward. Well, moving forward means also taking responsibility for what you've done wrong to date. And that is where accountability comes into play. So accountability by definition is the act of being responsible, the act of being the person in charge, the person that is responsible for a particular event or response or thing that is occurring. And I've missed enough episodes of the podcast over the weeks that I've broken one of the cardinal things I said I would not do by doing that. I said I was going to publish every week. I have not. I said I was going to start publishing twice a week, and I certainly haven't done that if I've been missing weeks altogether. So I am calling myself onto the carpet for that, and I'm going to do everything I can to laser focus on fixing that. It's all on me. There's nobody else that is responsible for that. I've just been choosing to take my downtime and spend it on other activities to let my brain theoretically unplug from what's been going on day to day. Day to day hasn't been bad. It has just been a busy time for me work-wise, and I haven't necessarily been enjoying my day-to-day work. So I've let that bleed over into other parts of my life. And so this is kind of where I'm trying to reset that. But it goes well beyond that because there's lots of areas in your life where you can take accountability. And but I also want to be able to talk about what that means to me, not just the areas that I've got to take accountability, but I want to avoid things like blame. I don't want to, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to be accountable for what I've done wrong. But it's not the act of choosing to blame myself or get down on myself for that. I've done that enough in my life also, and maybe that's another aspect of accountability is doing it in a positive fashion where if I'm failing at something or making a mistake or doing something wrong, I'm not beating myself up and tearing myself down on it. I'm trying to just learn something from it and say, what can I take out of this that I can learn from rather than spending a day or two beating myself up before I get to that point. And it's definitely been a learning experience for me to do that and to try to not be negative about it, but really, or where it says that I'm a bad person, or I say that I'm a bad person because I didn't get X and Y and Z done in the way that I wanted to. I can apply that to plenty of other areas of my life. Um, that's for sure. With my health and fitness is another one for Rebecca and Joel Del Rosario at Semper Stronger. You guys have set a great example, and I called myself out months ago, and um, I need to do a better job there also. I've got to decide what is my fitness regimen going to be when I'm on the road, when we're traveling like this. It's got to be something that I can do on a daily basis, whether it be one of the Semper Stronger workouts, just going for a run, doing something, getting my kids involved, obviously, but I've got to be able to do it on a day-to-day basis and make it happen. And I'm not doing that right now either. So, I mean, this podcast isn't, or this episode isn't meant to be me talking about all the things I'm not doing right now. That's not what this is for. I wanted to make it much more inspirational than that, but part of that is getting real and being at the point where I'm calling myself out. I'm putting things out on the table where I've done things wrong, and so that's a big part of it. And one of my biggest inspirations is Jocko Willink, and he's got some great quotes for that. He's got some great sayings for that, and his whole book, Extreme Ownership, is centered on taking accountability, even if it feels like you're not responsible. If that person is in your chain of command, or if they report to you at some point, or if they're part of your family and they're 1,000 miles away and they make a mistake, can you take responsibility for it? Can you be accountable for it and help to fix the problem? So seek responsibility instead of avoiding it. You, as the leader, need to figure out what you can do to correct the course. So it's not on my wife to help me figure out what I'm going to do to work out. It's not on my kids to be less annoying. Not that they're annoying, but you can tell yourself all these excuses that you want, but is it really going to fix anything or do anything at all to change that picture? When it is time, you showed extreme ownership for less than stellar performance instead of letting your team, or when is a time, gosh, when is a time you showed extreme ownership for less than stellar performance instead of blaming your team members or others close to you? In that case, I, I I'm not gonna. I mean, I've made some mistakes at work recently that are my responsibility. I did take ownership for them. So it's not really a team thing from that perspective for me. It's really how do I not pass the buck to my wife or to my family or anything else. The weather, the fact that we are in a camper and traveling this country, uh, the fact that whatever, that it's chilly out at 6 a.m. and I'm making excuses for that because I'd have to work out outside. What other excuses can you think of that are all just bullshit that you can set to the side and start getting something done? So that's what my goal is this week. That's what my word is this week. So what are some quotes that you can run in your head to be able to understand what how central of a part accountability can play in your life? So let me think of a couple here. Sigmund Freud. Most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. And maybe that's part of what it is for me is that we are much more free now living in this camper and not being tied to a home where I've got to mow the lawn, I've got to do maintenance on things outside, I've got to do this, I've got to do that around the house or in the neighborhood. Our schedule is much more open than it used to be, but my workout schedule is much worse, than it used to be back when we were living in our duplex. So what am I going to do to enforce some structure on myself to take that next step and to be able to work things from that perspective? 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. So do you make an excuse for why you didn't get something done? Well, yeah, I didn't do it, but, or is there a period there? I didn't do it. It's my responsibility. Because the second you say but, you are transferring blame to somebody else or to something else. Well, it was raining out, so I couldn't work out. It was cold out. It was my kids were up all night and I couldn't get enough sleep last night. I had to work too early. I had to work too late. I had to do X. I had to do Y. I had to do Z. That's just all a bunch of excuses. And if you say that, then you're not getting it done. Being responsible sometimes means pissing people off. Maybe it means pissing yourself off for once. Are you going to actually hold yourself responsible and look in the mirror and do exactly what you need to do to get this done? We talk about fitness being one of the prime preventative measures of getting really sick with COVID. And I am doing my best to steer free of anything that smacks of political partisanship or anything like that, but we all know that being in better shape and being healthy can help you resist sickness and make you more healthy in general. So why aren't we really pushing uh, fitness and getting stronger? And why aren't I setting an example by being out there and getting more fit myself as we walk this path? So that's all part of it is when am I going to take responsibility for that and do something? because it's not what I do, and I can call myself on the carpet here as much as I want, but it's what I do when no one's looking. That's what truly being accountable for your actions mean. And it doesn't mean nobody's looking because God is still watching you and God sees everything anyway. So, but when you're thinking of making an excuse and doing something that you shouldn't be doing or not doing something you should be doing, that's when true accountability comes to play because you can't make an excuse anymore. Find another one. Lou Holtz. The man who complains about the way the ball bounces is likely to be the one who dropped it. Ain't that the truth? Gotta love my English, but isn't that the truth? Are you going to complain about what you did wrong or are you going to actually do something about it? Pat Summit. Responsibility equals accountability equals ownership, and a sense of ownership is the most powerful weapon a team or organization can have. And I could take that down to the individual level. Are you taking ownership and building plans, doing a daily routine, figuring out what you need to do on a daily basis to make things happen? Winston Churchill, the price of greatness is responsibility. Do you want to be more than just an average person doing an average life, failing at more things than you succeed, and walking that path where you look back on your life and you feel like you missed something or you didn't do something you really wanted to do? I find myself occasionally doing that, and that's why I'm doing stuff like this. And there's some other big changes coming up, hopefully sometime soon, that are going to help me take steps in that direction. God willing, God loving, and with the full support of my beautiful wife. But this is the kind of thing where you have to decide, do you want to be more tomorrow and make progress one step at a time to be better and more than you are today and work your way towards that successful career, that successful uh, stage in your life that you've always wanted to be? What are your goals? What are you going to do to get there? What are you willing to do to get there? And so to that end, I've reset some things on my podcast also. I've got a couple great interviews coming with some guys that really inspire me and ladies that really inspire me. But this is the time to take a look at yourself and not start playing the blame game, but start taking responsibility and start taking action. So if that means starting to journal on a daily basis to help yourself grow and be better and be more, if it is taking that first step towards building a new career, it's only one step at a time. You can't do it all in one day, and you've got to be happy with small steps of progress. So, but what are you going to do to realize your dreams? And what are you going to do to make that happen? And I think that's what's held me back in the past is that I think in a lot of ways and a lot of things was I didn't quite know where to start. I didn't quite know what to do. So, and my dreams and my goals were way more than just one step away. So I didn't quite know what to do to start or to make it more, to be more with that particular subject. And whatever it might have been, if it was writing, if it was speaking, if it was starting my own business in some way, shape, or form, investing, or whatever you can think of with that. How did I become more? How did I want to be more? And I think I was afraid to start. I was afraid to take that first step. I was afraid to sit down and plan. I was afraid to set those steps in motion to be more. I think I was scared of losing what I had, and I let that fear control me. And to a point, I was hiding from it. I think I was also trying to ignore that the emperor didn't have any clothes on, if that's a good analogy. Sorry, I was kind of struggling with trying to figure out the right words to say that, but am I not looking at things clearly enough that I can take responsibility and take the next step and figure out where to go next. Even if that might just be brainstorming. What do I really want to do when I stare at myself in the mirror? If I'm not happy where I am, what am I going to do to change it? Even if I can't change it completely today, I mean, I can't go out today, this moment, and quit my job and go do something else and change it 100% in one day. But what can I do to start down that path of building a business and being more tomorrow than I was today, or even more tonight than I was this afternoon? So that would be my challenge to everybody out there is figure out if you're not taking accountability for yourself, if you're not owning up to the mistakes you've made or the areas in your life where you're struggling, you got to take a deep, hard look at yourself and figure out where to take that. And just going through thinking about this podcast has helped me to realize where else I might be falling short and to start to realize that I need to set aside that time to be more and do more and start to take those steps. Otherwise, I'm 51 now. I don't want to look back at 60 or even 55 or even 52 and say that I didn't move the needle where I wanted it to go, that I didn't step out of my box and be more or do more than what I was doing yesterday. I want to be an inspiration to myself for trying and maybe failing and getting back up again and doing the damn thing again next day because that's what I needed to do. Whether that be fitness, business, family, my wife, my marriage, my relationship with God, everything. So start down the path, journal, write, study, read, listen, help each other out, find somebody to mentor you. If there's somebody that you admire that has the skills that you think you need, go for it. Talk to them, message them till they respond. That's how I've gotten some of the guests on here is just being persistent. It's a busy world out there, especially for the high performers that you might want to talk to. They can't help everybody, but they can help you if you show them that you're all in. And that's what you've got to be is all in life. And to start that means you've got to be accountable for what you're doing wrong, and be accountable to fix it and do something about it. So thank you for listening. Um, I didn't mean for this to be a downer on me. That's not what I want. I want this to be something where I'm open about my weaknesses and what I'm screwing up. But at the same time, I'm not going to get down on myself and just be depressed and sad. I've done enough of that in my life. I'm not doing that anymore. Or at least I'm going to do my best. I might screw that up tomorrow night. We'll see. But I am going to do everything I can to not go down that path again. So figure out what you need to do to be accountable in your life. What does that mean to you? Take the steps that it's going to take to fix it, even if it's one tiny step that only gets you partway there. And you may never get there. You may have to pivot. You may have to go somewhere else. You may have to do something else. Some things may be screwed up mostly beyond redemption, but you can still do your best to lay the groundwork for recovery. I think I could keep going there, but I am going to stop for now. It's a start. That's accountability to me, taking ownership, admitting mistakes, learning, moving on, and being in that position of self-examination, self-learning, but still loving myself enough to forgive myself and look on myself with a positive picture in my face that, hey, I'm here. We're going to move forward and take another step. So, for Grow to Amazing, I'm out.